Hi, I'm Matt.
And I'm Dee Dee. We are the hilarious outcome of opposing brains sharing a mutual desire to share knowledge and positive thinking about hemp and cannabis.
We are here to tear down the walls built by Big Pharma and other big companies that seek to keep the human race in fear and divided.
We are here to shatter the myths about hemp and cannabis and change the stigma of this amazing plant. Welcome to Hempin Happiness with the Hemp Queen
And Emperor.
Podcast. Join us as we venture into this misunderstood and the unknown. Hey, Happy Hempsters. It's good to see you. I'm facing a different way because I don't like the other way I faced. Thanks for listening to our podcast. I know I'm weird. Don't look at me that way, Matt.
I didn't look at you at all. I looked at, yes, I did look at you actually.
But I also wanted you guys to see our facial expressions and stuff. So I didn't like us just looking at each other. So I switched that up a little bit today. But thank you guys again for being with us. We've got an interesting topic of conversation today. It's all on Matt this time for this one. So yeah, without further ado.
Okay. No, let's be fair. The research is on me.
Yeah.
The research is on me. The podcast is always about
Well, of
us.
course, it's always about us, but you know, he likes to talk.
Oh my God.
But first things first, talk about the thing with Dr. Molly.
Yeah. Okay. So for those of you who are faithful listeners, you may remember Dr. Molly Rutherford, who was on our show a few episodes back. She is a big part of COVID research, and beyond COVID research, what the quarantine and mask mandates have done and are continuing to do to culture and society and the economy today. She is one of the co-hosts of a global summit held in Kentucky. It will be October 8th. Gallery at Greenwood, 125 East Main Street in LaGrange, Kentucky. We'll put up a link if you would care to contribute or attend. It's going to be very interesting, guys. There's going to be testimonials from people who have lost their jobs due to the mask mandate, people who have had to remove their children from public school due to the mask mandate, the repercussions, both psychological and economical. There's going to be all kind of people that are giving testimonials, including a roundtable of highly qualified physicians. Mm-hmm. So, just a little plug there. If you are interested in COVID and not just what the media tells you, what's actually going on, I would highly recommend you attend or at least participate in some fashion in this summit. So
I did hear that technically the pandemic is over. I did read that, just the news part of it. I read that earlier today. Oh, and if you guys are wondering what I'm doing, Matt's cat Dexter is down here, so he wants to love on me, and I can't not love on the cat while he's here.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's supposedly the pandemic is over. I don't know if you knew that or not.
It's all due to the cats.
It is all due to the cats. I love cats.
And the pandemic.
I love animals.
So the pandemic is over because the media decided to say it's over.
I mean, probably. Right.
What changes?
I think they got tired of reporting on it.
That's like saying I feel 1 year older on my birthday.
Yeah, right. Oh yeah, you got one coming up. Happy early birthday to Matt. Whoop whoop. And you will be closer to 50 than you will 40. Mm-hmm. It sucks. I know, man. I know. Okay. I know. But yeah, Dexter's here and he is loving on me, so I have to love back on him. And he's the prettiest cat. He's like a little Bengal tiger, isn't he? Mm-hmm.
Not a Bengal tiger, but yes, a Bengal cat.
A Bengal cat.
Yeah. He thinks he's a tiger.
He's so
I got a
cute,
joke
though.
for you.
Okay.
It's really inappropriate.
Is it really
Anyone
inappropriate?
who's sensitive at this point, cover your ears
dear.
or hit mute.
Oh.
What fucks like a tiger and winks?
I don't know.
Rare.
Oh, dear Lord. Oh,
it's a classic.
I think I have a little puke in my throat.
Yes.
From that one.
Yes, and if you're listening, that's I winked.
So. Yeah, you did. Ew.
Moving right along.
Anywho.
And on a similar subject line, guys, we have a conversation we're going to have today that is going to involve some sensitive subject matter.
Good to know.
It's not quite going to be what you think.
Okay.
But if you are sensitive, if you are easily offended, if you are
Probably shouldn't listen
very
to us
not
anyway.
open-minded, so you're probably not listening to this podcast if you have those traits. But if you do, you'd probably want to skip this one, or
Yeah.
I would say just skip this one.
Should I step out of the room?
No, because
You offend me all the
I need
time.
you for that. No, I know. I need you for this. So the title of today's episode is called CBD and Snowflakes, which is a colorful title, and the reason why we've titled it as such, and what we're going to talk about today, which a lot of people aren't comfortable with, is what's going on with our society and hypersensitivity, ultra political correctness, what's causing it, how it's affecting us, and really how it's affecting the hemp and CBD and cannabis industry.
Right.
Because you'd really be surprised
Because
about those things.
that term in and of itself, before we dive into the hemp and CBD aspect of it, it really doesn't portray the true person, nor even a political side, because the term, what snowflake means, I've seen it on all spectrums of the political sides. So to me, it's not just the Dems or, it's not just the liberals. I also see it on the other side as well.
Yeah.
And it's kind of crazy too. And I'm like, wait a minute, didn't you all term that? I don't know. But either way, it doesn't matter.
And we're gonna get into that.
Okay.
So let's dive right in.
Yeah.
And that's a perfect segue. So
You're welcome.
so
That wasn't even planned.
the term snowflake was originally meant to define someone as individualistic and unique, because
Okay.
No two snowflakes are the same. In their crystalline form,
I guess I'm a
everyone is
snowflake.
unique, which is a kind of cool and interesting thing because it's true. I thoroughly believe in the collective consciousness, but I believe that we are all individuals, unique in every way for a reason. And we're going to get into that in this podcast. So what the term unfortunately means now is someone who is overly sensitive, easily offended, and
Again, both sides.
and soft, right? Now that was turned into an offensive term, not by accident, and this I don't even know the right term. This movement of hypersensitivity is not an accident, and you, I hope, will be surprised in the facts that we're going to discuss today. So, moving right along with that, being easily offended. So, we are very raw on this show. We speak our minds explicitly, and really what that boils down to is the determination of what is offensive, okay? So what is offensive is what society deems as offensive, okay? So what is offensive right now will not necessarily be offensive tomorrow.
Right. And I think individually, though, people take offense with some things where others don't.
Right. And that's part of it. So choosing what's offensive and what's not offensive, you think is an individual choice and you think is a social choice, but it's really not. These things are being implanted by the media.
Oh, yeah.
And then people are the sheeple narrative are buying into it and responding. And this is nothing
And again,
new.
both sides.
Yes, it actually has nothing to do with sides. It has nothing to do with anything other than these ideas or ideals being injected into our society via the media. This is unique only.
Well, when you've only got like 2% or 2 people controls all the media, it does not surprise me.
Well, and that's
more than
a
that,
big
but
part of it.
yeah.
It's actually like the 0.05%. It's not even the 1%. which is scary. So these ideas are implanted by the media, but then socially reinforced via currently social media, which is really interesting because it's not a new concept, guys. This has gone on for a very since before the majority of the public could read. Medieval Europe, scribes were hired to draw pictures of a magistrate or a local leader or political leader who they wanted out cavorting with the devil. Pictures of them with a dragon's body with their head and nailed on the trees to the roadways in and out of town. There's been cases of monks who were the only people who could write, being told essentially how to shape history as early as, at least 1,000 years ago.
At least.
So,
I'm sure much longer than that.
Here's the thing about that. Even though we want to blame the mass media now, this is not new. And this is part of a cadence that we experience. I remember when I was a senior in high school and freshman in college during the PC revolution, which was the last rendition of this. And that was political correctness, which is still around today. But that's kind of turned into the cancel culture, which I'm going to expound on. But it was, holding hands was frowned upon. It was essentially an attempt to separate men and women, and keep men and women divided, and keep that going. Why? It's a good question. We're going to get to it. Beyond that. Which segues into the cancel culture. There's a reason why the cancel culture exists, and it's not the cancel culture. It's people wanting to erase the past. It's the media wanting to erase the past. They don't want you to remember the PC.
Is it really the media that wants it to be erased?
Well, it's the media. It's the people that are controlling the media.
There you
the
go.
media is sending out the message, and the message is being recited. So I just did some fact checking, and the Salem witch trials, Bolshevik Revolution, Mao Zedong, Hitler, and the Nazi regime all used the same tactics that are being used in the media today to influence the general public towards an opinion that aren't their own.
Right.
And once that opinion...
Even Trumpism is like that.
Right. And then once that opinion is formed and established, it's a self-perpetuating thing. That is compounded now by social media, because it's implanted into social media, which is, for good, bad, or worse, how the current generation is getting their news. They see that, recycle it, repost it with their opinion included, and then it grows. And what we're essentially doing is building our own cages.
Well, and as an example of that, this whole Little Mermaid thing where Halle Berry is the new Little Mermaid, and there's this whole issue about it being black. Apparently, there really isn't an issue about it.
Right.
One person said something, and then the next thing you know, it's snowballed into this big ordeal.
Right.
Really? Like,
Right.
most people don't care about that stuff, but they want to keep us divided, and that's how they do it.
Right.
Make it a race issue. Oh no, she's not white.
Right.
Neither is Jesus.
Well, and that's the thing, and that's what we're getting to, because these subjects that people are getting offended by, quote unquote offended by, are not really relevant.
Right.
They're just what the minutia that the powers that be want you to be involved in, to be distracted, to be manipulated, and to be divided.
So bringing that into the hemp and the cannabis market.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's coming.
Yeah.
It's coming.
Okay. All
So
right.
and that so
gotta
then
bring it back
just
home.
right. So so just to give you a I don't know if you remember, for all you faithful listeners out there, we did do a podcast about Terence McKenna's stoned ape theory with our own spin on that. Mm-hmm. So Terence McKenna actually has a brilliant quote that sums this up. That is, what we call reality is, in fact, nothing more than a culturally sanctioned and linguistically reinforced hallucination, which is interesting because it's true. Our realities...
We living in a matrix.
Well, our realities are formed by the society around us.
Yeah.
And what I like to refer to as the collective unconsciousness. Mm-hmm. We are social beings. It is heavily believed by a lot of psychologists that we are completely reliant on society for everything, as in our instincts as humans no longer exist. Mm-hmm. I know that's debatable. We can save that for another podcast. But our reality is shaped by our society. So if our society is being shaped, we can't necessarily trust to believe what we view as our societal opinion to be correct or true. And I know that's getting deep into the weeds.
Very deep.
But
Ba-dum-bum.
that's, yeah. And I'm not even, anyway. You have to, you have to see that, and you have to see past what you might view as the popular opinion. Because here's what happens in societal opinion. No one wants to be the nail that sticks out. So you will compromise your values, even unknowingly, as a human being to fit into social circumstances and to be accepted. Because we all, whether we admit it or not, we all desire acceptance. We all desire to be part of something, to the point where we will compromise and reform our own opinions in order to be part of that. So
that makes sense.
It does, and it's never and it's never been more evident, and it's never been more important to resist that urge, to know what you know and do what you do. So how that leads into the hemp and CBD industry. There is, even though hemp, CBD, and in most states cannabis is legal in the law, there are many forces that continue to work against it. Right now in the cannabis industry, we have essentially prohibition by taxation. Over half the cannabis industries in the United States right now are losing money.
Oh, yeah. Actual companies are, yeah.
Yep. And 60% in California, because the taxation is so high. So they don't have to make it illegal. They're just taxing it so high
that you still have that black market.
That no money can be made. And now we're right back to the situation where it's going underground.
Right.
Because no one in the legitimate cannabis industry, with rare exception, and those are the people with extreme amounts of money, can make a profit. In the industry right now.
Where was it? New York? Was it New York I was telling you about?
20 million.
20 million to get a license for crying out loud. That's insane.
Right.
Like, and then in Michigan, you've got, now I did talk to a friend of mine. They said that, an ounce is about $60 up there. However, there was apparently a lot of mold in some of those cannabis products. So if you're getting your marijuana that cheap up there, you need to really look at the COAs, because there's been a lot of mold outbreaks in the marijuana industry too.
Wow.
So that's why they're selling it and they're getting rid of it super cheap.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, that's not safe. I mean, isn't that the whole point of having the dispensaries, to get it safer? Yeah. Right? So that in and of itself is going to hurt the market too, selling crappy product. We're not even going to talk about Kentucky because we all know where that still stands. But it's kind of insane.
Yeah, and you can look at it on a micro level or a macro level, because it's the same.
Yep.
In the CBD and hemp industry, we have shadow banning.
Yeah.
We
talked about that.
Our Facebook site disappeared. No reason. No, hey, you
Nothing.
Violated. Just gone. No reason. No response from Facebook. Nothing. You have the SHAFT program. Mm-hmm. Okay, the SHAFT program is basically a form of prohibition where they somehow classify hemp and CBD in sex, hate, alcohol, firearms, and tobacco.
Yeah.
Now,
And we're talking about text messaging, by the way. So SMS, MMS, text messaging.
you are technically not allowed to send any text messages regarding CBD or hemp
Yep.
because of this shaft policy. Now, tell me where these products fit into sex, hate, alcohol, firearms, and tobacco. But they do. And you know why? Because we're letting them.
Yeah.
Because
Right?
we're simply allowing
And
these
again,
things to happen.
you've got the people against each other. You've got hemp and fiber, they're against CBD people. Then you've got marijuana against the CBD people.
Well, it's all and this is where
Keep
it
us
circles
more
back.
divided.
It circles back to the division.
Yep.
We don't want to offend anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Wink, wink. So we're going to make sure no sex, hate, alcohol, firearms, or tobacco messages are sent because people can't think for themselves.
Right. Even if you
need,
consent to it, that's bullshit.
They need someone to control and make sure that what they read doesn't have any of those things in it. And CBD could highly offend someone. So here we are back with this, with this quote unquote, snowflake movement. But it's not. It is people not wanting hemp to make it, CBD to make it, cannabis to make it. Why? Because it's not in their economic interest.
Well, no. Every time a state goes medical, Big Pharma loses $3 billion. Billion with a B. I was floored to read that. I was like, well, no wonder it's not legal here or everywhere or federally.
Right.
Big Pharma controls everything.
Right.
Everything.
Right.
I mean, how many senators are bought and paid for by Big Pharma? A lot on both sides.
Right.
So yeah, $3 billion every time a state goes medical.
Yeah. And then the people that recognize that want to blame the cancel culture.
Yeah.
Okay. There is no cancel culture, guys. That is something that was fabricated by the media to start a cancel culture and to justify hiding history and hiding the truth and get steam, which it has gotten steam amongst a lot of groups that want to delete history, which is a terrible mistake.
Oh gosh, horrible.
When bad things happen in history, guys, you don't remove them.
Yep.
Okay, you have to remember them.
And so you don't repeat them.
Exactly. There's a very famous quote that is, if you don't remember your history, you can forget the future.
All right.
Because you're doomed. You're just going to repeat it and repeat it. And when you get to my age, now that I'm on the other side of 40, you start to see these cycles, and you start to see these cadences.
Yeah.
It's also part of my personal philosophy and ethos to follow these cadences. And right now, economists, spiritualists often think of these as linear. You essentially have a wave that's high, low, and the duality that exists between the high points, the low points, and the points in between. I currently feel like it's more of a circle where when you've seen enough things, you see things happen over and over again. It's a different variation, but it's essentially the same thing. It's very important that the next time around, we remember what happened last time. Because if we erase that and say, oh, no, that's horrible, that's going to upset someone, delete it, it will happen again, and everything that we learned from that, the mistakes that happened the last time around, is fucking lost.
Exactly.
Okay? And they want
like the genocide of the Jews. Hello. Yeah.
They want that to happen because it's easier to control people if they don't have knowledge, they don't have experience, and that hits on every level. So, again, this floats into the cannabis and CBD industry because I thoroughly believe that there are cannabinoids that lend to cortical stimulation. There are tests that have proved that.
Well, and why would Big Pharma be so upset if they're losing 3 billion people? Oh, because it works.
You're going to have a supplement that might actually help people think for themselves. Oh, God, no.
And heal them naturally. Oh,
so,
scary thought.
You know, and I don't want to. I don't want to sit here and rant because it's not a rant. We all have to be aware. We all have to realize what's going on and stop blaming one another.
Right.
You know, because it's not about whether you're Gen X, Gen Z, and actually, I just want to side note this generational thing. The previous generation always dogs on the following generation.
Okay, boomer.
But here's what you need to think about. Okay, the previous generation lends all the tools to the next generation on how they are going to live and represent themselves. So if you want to dog on a generation, you may as well blame the generation before them because they're the ones who raised the next generation.
That is very, very true.
So all these Gen Xers, of which I am one, running around talking about these damn millennials. Okay, the millennials are your kids who you were responsible for raising.
Or what is it, Gen Y or Gen Z or something?
Teaching them the morals, teaching them the responsible way to live your life. You fucked up. If you're sitting there pointing fingers at them, you can turn that right back on yourself.
That's a whole other podcast.
You freaking raised that kid. We created that society from our ashes. So, hey, you know, we have no one to blame. If you have a problem with it, you have no one to blame but yourselves. And the reality is, they are how they are because we allowed them to be raised by the media. Well, we allowed them to
that, and we were helicopter parents.
And
because we didn't have that.
Yep, but at the same time, too busy with our economic pursuits to be concerned about things like family values.
Then we give them everything they want,
wrong and
instead
right. What is our personal opinions on integrity? And the family values thing. Y'all, when I talk about family, I'm not talking about the traditional family. Family is being redefined, and it is important that we remember family is more than just blood. And I thoroughly believe in family values. I believe in promoting what you believe in to the next generation that you are raising, whether it's your kids, your stepkids, your adopted kids, your whatever, letting them know where you stand, even though they might not share that opinion, is going to benefit them.
Yes, for sure.
More so than, money in their pocket.
Agreed.
Unless, they're literally starving to death.
So the moral of this podcast, Matt, think for yourself.
Right.
Let go of the snowflake mentality.
Right, and here's where it is, because we don't bring up issues without solutions on this podcast, right?
Right.
So guys, here or people, sorry guys, force of habit. Don't want to offend anyone. What we really need to do is look within. Okay, we part of the again, the cancel culture ideal and the snowflake phenomena is people are looking externally for internal gratification, for validation of who they are and what they are. And life, at least as I see it, does not work that way.
No.
You, for the first time that I'm aware of in human history, people have more freedom to be who and whatever they want to be. And that is probably one of the awesomest things I have gotten to bear witness to in my life. With that being said, it's not other people's responsibility to validate your free choice. If you choose to identify one way, awesome. And that's great. But it's not everyone else's responsibility to reinforce that or even accept that. We can all have our own opinions, and that's okay.
Yep.
We're allowed, especially as Americans. And what that danger that dangerously leads towards is overturning the amendments, which I think is another thing that's on the horizon that people are trying to do.
As fuck.
So you're taking our rights away to not offend someone. is ridiculous. Thomas Jefferson, who's taking all kind of shit right now, as he should. I do not agree with what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it. I mean, our forefathers were racist, bigot assholes, but their redeeming quality was they knew they were racist, bigot assholes, and they wrote the Constitution and the amendments knowing that they were imperfect, and knowing that changes would need to be made, and knowing that rights would need to be preserved as history continued. So, you can dog on the four quote unquote forefathers all you want. You're correct.
I do all the time.
You are 100% correct. However, the format that they set our nation in and the democracy that was developed, in my opinion, is bar none to any other country in the world. And we need to protect and preserve that freedom by accepting one another and allowing each other to have our own opinions that might not be what is socially acceptable, or it might offend you, okay?
Right. Like I believe in term limits. Sorry to offend the ones that have been in Congress forever that screwed us all over, but I believe in term limits.
Yep. And you cannot let your emotions guide your reality.
Right.
I mean, you have to there has to be logic in there somewhere. And not picking on people that want to live a fantastical life. I think that's great. And I think that the more you explore the boundaries between fantasy and reality, the more true of a person you become. But with that being said, it's not society's responsibility to accept you in that journey. It's your responsibility to accept you in that journey.
Right.
And, if we can do that, we can accept ourselves, we can accept each other. All of a sudden, these economic interests don't have the power that they do. All of a sudden, these medicines that are being forced upon us aren't necessarily what we have the only choice to take. We need to allow cannabis to be advertised, to be sellable, to be available, for the test to be published, for God's sakes.
Right. Take it off the Schedule 1.
Stop shadow banning. Stop. Right. When people use their feelings as a guide to ban or prohibit something, there's all kind of collateral damage there.
Yeah, because, you think about this, Facebook, Instagram, that's all a private company. It's not a public company.
Our nation is a private company.
I know.
Ever since the Jekyll Island incident where the Fed became privatized, which no one still seems to know about.
I know, man.
Our currency is owned by private banks. Those private banks have interests that are not to our benefit. That they're not looking out for. They're looking out for wealth, not health.
Which cracks me up too, because then how the hell does the IRS get involved with that if technically it's private money?
I think you've got grounds, Dee Dee.
I do. Damn it, I do.
By the way, for those of you who don't know, who haven't participated in the fund, Dee Dee has undergone an audit.
Jesus. So. I'm telling you, that stuff's kept me awake at night. I did not have, I was the bookkeeper this is going back to 2019, and I don't remember everything from that year. I don't remember what happened last week. So it's been a bit of a nightmare for me. I'm hoping it comes to an end soon. It's been going on for almost a year now. Yeah, for almost a year. Yeah. And I'm just like, gee whiz. Yep. But yeah, 2020 taxes are, talk about a freaking mess. We changed CPAs, and that firm, oh my God, I'm on my third amendment for that year. And then got a letter from the IRS that they're not accepting the second one that they did. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. So it's been snowballing. So yeah, say a little prayer for me.
Well, bureaucracy knows no bounds.
I know, but if it's but if all the money's privately owned by these banks, why the hell is the IRS involved? I think I do have grounds. I think that is my total. That is a good defense.
There you go.
Damn,
there you go. Well, I'm gonna stay way out of that one. All right, so you hamsters out there, please think for yourselves.
Yes, please.
Do not accept public opinion as such. Apply Socratic method. Yes. Yeah. Get out your metaphysical toolbox. Free thinking. Yeah.
And if you do offend someone, at least apologize.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong.
you're not doing it on purpose.
I don't think people should be offended. I don't think you should intentionally seek to offend someone. I think you should have your own opinions.
Right.
And if it offends people,
they need to look within.
So
too.
be it. That is their issue, not your issue.
Exactly.
You cannot. One thing that I have come to realize is that you can only change the reality around you by changing yourself, and by making the choice. I'm going to choose to let this person have so much power over me. I'm going to choose the level of how much what they say affects me and offends me. It's not their responsibility. It's my responsibility because it's me. It's it is the one thing in my life that I do have control over. And that is my feelings, my opinions, my emotions.
Yep.
And no one else can touch those unless I let them.
Yep. Exactly. So there you have it, Happy Hempsters.
Yep.
Feel free to comment, send us emails, info@502hemp.com, and we will respond directly to you. Follow us on our new Facebook page, 502 Wellness Center. And we're still on Instagram. God only knows for how long, as 502 Hemp. And of course, there's always YouTube. And sign up for our newsletters on our website. We send out all kinds of information through there. Obviously, we won't text you, but we will send you an email. And we try not to do more than one a week, unless it's like some kind of issue or emergency. So yeah, try and keep in touch with us, and keep it hempy out there. Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Hempin' Happiness with the Hemp Queen
and Emperor.
Keep your mind ever open and expanding. Like, subscribe, review, follow us, all the good stuff. And
keep it hempy out there.